David, what's your issue, man? Why you getting up and out of that chair so gingerly?
Well, because number one, I'm an old man, Dane. I think I found the first gray pube today. So where this was
nobody wanted to.
I saw my own mortality reflected in that gray pube, and then I promptly drove an hour down to a class to get my ass kicked by a 26-year-old.
Had your mortality beat out of you?
Yes. And I realized what it truly means to be like, oh, God. I remember when I was 20, like I could literally throw my back out doing deadlifts. And I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna walk this one off and go home and like take a 3-hour nap, and then all of a sudden I could move again. Now it's like, did I dislocate my L5 while I was sleeping? Is that what happened? I can't move anymore.
I think you should probably start with not throwing your back out. I mean, that's where I'd start.
Is that where you'd start? Yeah. What a genius. You know, Dane, that's why they pay you the Grande Dolores, as we call it in Espanol. Language which I'm clearly fluent in.
But no, so you had the living life beat out of you.
I sparred
by somebody 6 years your junior.
Let's not be condescending here. He was a decent fighter. He had actually
I'm saying 6 years your junior, as in he's more in his prime than you are in yours.
He's sprightly.
Or he's closer to his prime than we are.
The fucked up thing is that he has more experience than I do, which is weird because I'm older than him. I'd be like, come here, kid. Life lesson number one. Don't do this. Go go back to school.
Respect your elders. Don't beat up your elders.
Go back to school. Get a degree that means something, and go out and make something of yourself. You know. But no. Anyway, yeah. I'm. Suffice to say, he ate up my lead leg a little bit. If you know, you know. And other than that, I'm mobile. I'm not.
Listen. What I'm taking out of this is
you should have seen the other guys. What I should have said. This whole thing could have been fucking 5 seconds.
30 seconds.
Yeah, I might be messed up, but you should have seen the other guy.
At least I walked out of there.
Exactly.
All right. What I'm taking away from this whole thing is I don't want to hear shit from you anymore when I come up limping after a basketball game. Now, hold on.
Slight difference.
I understand that in a combat sport, you are being struck. First of all,
yes,
that does not mean there is no contact in basketball. Second of all,
I think most of it's a foul. If he brushes your whiskers,
we don't call fouls.
you aren't calling fouls like a bitch out there.
That's right.
Oh, thank God, I can still claim you. Then
we're throwing bows all over the court.
Sit down. We got you.
Not only is there contact, but I mean, come on. The joints aren't getting any younger. So after a lot of running around and jumping and stuff like that, the knees are a little sore.
Okay.
Is that the worst thing in the world?
But do I
need to turn in my athlete card now?
Can we also agree that there is nuance within this?
I love how you dressed up for the first time on camera for the show.
We're not on camera. This is practice.
Oh, we're definitely on camera. People are watching this on YouTube now going, what are they arguing about? Of course they're on camera. I'm sitting here watching it. But I love that you dressed up for the show. You're really putting in all the effort.
Let them know right out the gates. What you see is what you get. I don't have to put on brash bravado button-ups and slacks and God only knows what designer those shoes are, just so people think that I'm worthwhile. All right? The worthwhileness comes from inside, which is something you'd know if you weren't a depraved lawyer.
I didn't change after leaving the office. We have a lot of content to record.
People to know that. You need people to know that.
Yeah.
Should I not have changed after I left my office? Just sitting here sweaty and stinky like a...
No, I'm saying...
smelling pits and ass? Is that what you want to smell right now?
What I'm saying is just as easily as I could have downgraded the wardrobe, to something neutral.
Could have.
Like a WMD podcast t-shirt,
perhaps,
which all the listeners are going to go buy from the website.
Which you could procure at any time.
Yes. But... you could have come up to meet me halfway.
Why would I do that?
I'm clearly that was not on your radar.
I'm comfortable where I'm at. You're lucky I'm wearing pants, for God's sake.
Listen, camera, no camera. Nobody wants to see that.
I thought that was pretty classy right now. I thought it was pretty classy.
Well, I'm glad you covered up.
Little class, little sass, and a whole lot of ass. You ready to go?
All right, so now we've decided, or we figured out why David's a cripple, why Dane's overdressed, and why this podcast is going to hell in a handbasket. But we like doing it for you. So should we do it for him?
Let's do it all over again. For the 73rd time?
I think so.
Okay.
Welcome to Weapons of Meme Destruction Podcast, episode 73. Can you do the numbers for the camera? 73, which can be found at wmdpodcast.com/73. You can find it on any podcast catcher. Just search Weapons of Meme Destruction. But you can also link up with us on our other socials, Twitter, Instagram, and the TikTok, which is blowing up lately. I don't know if we mentioned that on 72, but yeah, definitely go follow us on TikTok because it's popping off over there. Anywho, David.
It definitely favors one of the two of us a hell of a lot more. But
I wonder if it's the two of us whose fault it is that's
again,
actually
not
taking
to
the
sound
time
old,
to put content out there.
for the third time in 5 minutes, but I sat down with it for 20 minutes and I had 20 minutes to do it. I was like, this thing doesn't work at all. Anyway, so go ahead.
David, tell the people. Am I holding a gun to your head, keeping you off of TikTok?
Yes, you are. No, I'm holding the gun to my head. You're telling me to get on there. I'm like, I don't think they want to see me. I don't think they even want to see me.
Not
now.
with that attitude,
Clearly,
they don't.
I should probably put a suit and tie on if I'm going on to TikTok.
You should.
Seeing as my wardrobe needs an upgrade, apparently. Please.
Well, so, David, with that horrible segue, we read a rather disturbing article this week, did we not?
Well, you read it aloud, so I listened to a disturbing article this week. But yes,
how'd you like it?
It was.
You could have just. I could have,
but it wouldn't have been as fun
or genuine. So
it was eye-opening, but not surprising. Again, kind of not to fall back into the doldrums of the black pill, white pill discussion, but I wish. All I will say about this article that we're about to not bury the lead anymore on is I wish I was surprised. I just wish that I was like, really? That not in this world? No way. It's all gumdrops and lollipops out here, brother.
Yeah. I wish we would have been shocked, flabbergasted, and
we need to do something about this. Jesus Christ, get in the streets, people.
But yeah, to most of you, especially, self-selecting audience, people that listen to this podcast, you're going to be like, yeah, so what, guys? Tell us something we don't know. But, I think at some point, even if we know how corrupt and just terrible the government is in many respects, I feel like even though we know that generally, there does still come some times where things are leaked out where you're over the top, like that's really too far.
And what is it this time?
This time is definitely one of those too far times. So this was an article written by Judge Andrew Napolitano, and you can find it at a bunch of different outlets.
Is that the ice cream?
No, that's Neapolitan.
Delicious.
I'm glad that I remember that because I was like, wait, where's he going with this? That one, you caught me. You almost got me on that one.
Gotta keep you on your toes.
It's a good, that Jeopardy quick wit, came in there.
There we go.
So anyway, the title of the article, and we will link to it on the show notes page, is called What Happens When Government Breaks Its Own Laws. And what Judge Napolitano did, and I'm just going to run through some of the facts real quick, and then David and I will spend the rest of the episode just kind of discussing just I'm at a loss.
The naughty, not niceness.
Yes. So, Judge Napolitano broke down an Inspector General of the Department of Justice's report on abuses by the FBI. A few weeks ago, in a military court, it came out that the CIA was torturing people at Guantanamo. See, here's that thing where you're like, duh, guys, we knew that. But what was interesting is the prosecutors argued at trial, don't worry, Your Honor, we are not going to use any information we got from the CIA torturers. We're only going to use information from what we call FBI, quote unquote, clean teams They're clean because they come in and they conduct interrogations and stuff, but they don't use torture because don't you understand? The CIA is the bad guys, and we all know it, but the FBI are the good guys, right? They're a domestic intelligence agency as opposed to the CIA, which is more international.
They don't cause kerfuffles internationally.
Right. So as a domestic intelligence agency, they are more, shall we say, attuned to their constitutional parameters, and they don't violate them. That's kind of the narrative that they want you to believe. CIA bad, FBI good. Well, what we found out is that between 2002 and 2003, 9 FBI agents were reclassified as CIA agents at Guantanamo so that they could conduct the torture that, as we've already admitted, CIA agents did, but not besmirch the name of the FBI because, again, we've got to keep up the narrative. So technically, you hear that phrase from people like, hey, you wear a lot of hats. They literally walked out on a Friday with an FBI hat on, walked in on a Monday with the CIA hat on, tortured the living shit out of people in violation of the U.S. Constitution and at least 3 international treaties. And then they said, well, no, we're FBI again after they were done torturing, and we're quote unquote clean teams.
Well, I've got a perfect analogy for this, Dane. Buckle up.
Oh, I love David's analogies. Here we go.
This is like cheating on your wife with being, honey. I used a condom. I only have unprotected sex with you. She doesn't deserve my seed.
That's a pretty good analogy.
It's not bad. I took it off and now we're still married, right? You have no problems with that whatsoever.
Oh my God. Now, you guys might be saying, Dane, David, listen, that's
a disgusting analogy and I don't appreciate it. You're right to say that.
That definitely. Now, some of you, I think there's 3 categories of people. There's one category like Dane and Dane, referring to myself in the third person, like us.
Easy. You're not Anthony Fauci, all right?
I'm not that guy yet.
Calm it down.
There's one category that's like us that's still not surprised. There's one category that is a little surprised that this would, happen. And there's one that are just completely blown away like, what? You mean to tell me it's not CIA bad, FBI good? Well, okay, I understand you, but this is only in the international context, right? They still are torturing people that were accused of terrorism, right? Oh, it doesn't stop there, dear friend, because the FBI, as LeBron James would say, taking his talents to South Beach, the FBI also brought its law-breaking talents back into domestic affairs. And according to the Inspector General's report, from 2012 to 2018, the FBI paid informants $294 million. I'm not good at the quick maths, but over a 6-year period, that's closing in on $50 million a year.
And it doesn't mention how many informants it had, just that it spent that much.
No, it spent that much on informants in a 6-year period. Now, that's not all they spent.
What did they get in return, Johnny?
From my reading, and I could be getting this wrong because I didn't read the primary documents, but from my reading of Judge Napolitano's article, that $294 million is just what's getting paid out to the informants in cash payments. And then on top of that, $42 million a year in just expenses. Like if the informant needs to travel from California to New York or whatever, they'll pick up his plane ticket. They spent $42 million a year
running a business here
on just the expenses, not counting the cash payments.
Sometimes you got to crack a couple eggs to make an omelet. That's all I'm saying.
And now again, the objector steps back in and says, "Hey guys, I hear you. That's kind of bad. I mean, informant information is usually more reliable if they're not getting paid to say something. So that's a little unseedy, but we gotta sometimes crack a few omelets to
make an egg.
Crack a few omelets.
Yeah.
Too many words coming out of my mouth too fast.
Perfect analogy, Dan. You're doing great.
So you might say, well, listen, that's a little unseedy, but that's not the worst thing in the world. Well, wait until you hear what they allowed these informants to do.
Please.
Between 2011 and 2013, so only 2 years, the FBI authorized 22,500 violations of federal and state law.
Dane, What does that even mean?
Okay. So not only is the FBI paying informants millions of dollars, maybe not individually, maybe, I don't know, paying them very well and picking up their operating expenses, but they are paying them to continue violating the law that many of these informants are already criminals, right? They're trying to get a lesser sentence or whatever the case may be. So a criminal becomes an FBI informant, is paid very handsomely to get a lighter or no sentence, and then is paid to go back to a life of crime. That just sounds like something with more steps.
That sounds like slavery with extra steps. Wait, what you did as a private person, super illegal, and you definitely shouldn't do that again, but we will pay you a lot of money to come do it for us.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you don't go to federal pound me in the ass prison too.
Yeah, because you're also not getting charged. Not only are the charges that they first brought you in under reduced under your agreement, but then any charges that you would have got from continuing to break the law, you don't get charged for because you're an FBI informant.
Yeah, you dipshit. Learn the rules, idiot. What? Wait, hold on. The rules are you can't do this. Yeah, well, we don't abide by the rules. That's the first rule.
We wrote the rules. So
we know what we're breaking and what we're not. Don't quote the rules to us. We were there when they were written.
But think about this, right? If you were to view American civics, right, the structure of American government from the Schoolhouse Rock 101 level that most kids in the United States educated in government schools get the educational malpractice of not understanding how the government works. But they at least know this. They know about the separation of powers. Well, not that. What do they call it? Checks and balances.
There you go.
That's the kids' version.
Checks and balances.
Right. And usually you're only given the horizontal checks and balances. At the federal level, you have one branch that writes the law, legislative, one branch that enforces it, the executive, and one branch that interprets what the legislature wrote in the judicial, right? That's horizontal separation of powers, right? But there's also a vertical. This doesn't come up in your Schoolhouse Rock, but the vertical separation of powers is the states retain certain sovereignties. One of the primary ones is police power. They retain certain sovereignties that they did not grant to the federal government. So there are certain things that are of state law that the federal government cannot intrude upon. So what you have is a violation of both horizontal and vertical separation of powers simultaneously.
So an XY axis is what you're talking about. So you've got a grid system going on is what you're really looking for. Going to draw that bell curve real quick. So the bell curve stops at dead people, and then it goes really high for people breaking the law that are just common citizens, and the closer you get to power and coercion, and so it goes back down.
It's a lot of math. I'm already lost.
It's your general
it's a good thing we have a video
-1
because they're gonna
0.
So
they'll see the bell curve.
That
it's
will
like
help, yeah.
if you're a normal citizen with a lot of money, not so much. That's on the other side of the bell.
Or a government agent.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if you're a government agent, you're all the way down here.
You're fast track.
You're not even getting touched. You're at like the tippity tip of the bell curve.
So
you're the Bell Ridge.
The horizontal separation of powers, right? The legislature is the one who writes the law. The executive doesn't get to break the law. He enforces the law. So now you have a branch, a subsidiary of the executive branch in the FBI that aren't even the president, who, again, the president, as Judge Napolitano points out in the article, the president cannot even authorize the breaking of a law. They can pardon after the fact, but they can't authorize in advance, go ahead and break this law.
But
it's
isn't
all
that
good.
kind of, that's kind of being able to break the law too, isn't it? Like,
it's very different. It's very different to go in and say specifically.
They cover, who the president pardons. And it's like,
right.
The president got paid a lot of money by one CEO, and then all of a sudden that CEO gets pardoned before he goes to jail, let's just say.
But again, the semantic difference of pardoning after the fact versus committing beforehand.
Why didn't we hear about this earlier too? Like, doesn't it feel like this is a big story? Like,
why do you have to listen to the 141st podcast in all of Australia to hear this? Why is this not on CNN?
Why wouldn't they cover it on Fox? Why wouldn't they cover it on MSNBC? I'm sure Rachel Maddow would be mad about this. She's mad about everything else. She might as well be mad about this too. Jesus Lord. Why us? Why us, God? Why?
For
those of you listening, I pantomime to the heavens.
David does, him and God, they got a direct line.
Yo.
Really. They're boys.
I call him G.
So that's the horizontal separation of powers. And then the vertical is, you have federal laws and the FBI agents, as bad as it is for the FBI agents to authorize the violation of federal law, they sent their informants into states to violate state law. So
we don't care about them either.
Vertical separation of powers. That's not even, even if you could make some sort of argument of we're federal agents, so we decide when we violate federal law, doesn't apply to the states.
Where's the consent? We're just going to take what we want. What are you, pirates? Kinda.
You have a very good point about consent, because we're told by the statists, told they're blue in the face, that this country is all about democracy. And if you don't like your government, you can change it, right? It's that whole libertarians, you complain about everything when you leave.
Just within the example, you gave an example of why that's not true. Because to even breathe to say that, hey, the Libertarian Party's coming up, you guys are fucking idiots. There's only two parties in this system. There's no way it works with a third party. This is a democracy, you idiot. Like, right. wait, hold on. What?
It's a democracy where you only get two choices.
Yeah. Suck on it and like it.
But even as bad as that is, I have never seen an FBI director pop up on any ballot I've ever voted on. So these career bureaucrats, Fauci is another one, not to bring up a sore subject, because that's not what this episode is about. But why
would he lie?
But
he'd rather be playing golf down in Palm Beach.
I know, and I'm sure the FBI agents would rather be,
Why does he want to be on camera in front of an entire nation? Why would he want to do that? Who would? Oh my goodness.
So
telling them how to live their lives. Anyway, go ahead.
22,500 violations of federal and state law over a 2-year period. If we do the quick maths on that and say they've been spending $100 million a year.
Does that equate to a lot? Is that a lot?
That's a lot. That's a lot per
per annum.
Per law violation.
Tasty.
I don't have my phone to do a calculator. Too bad we don't have a third party helper person guy.
Yeah. If you know a guy.
Yeah.
If you know a guy.
Preferably not named Christian. That guy sucks.
Or any name that starts with C.
Yeah. Like that.
And rhymes with Arlos.
Oh yeah, we really hate that guy.
Yeah, that guy sucks.
So yeah, is your mind sufficiently blown?
No, it wasn't.
Do you think those?
I feel like everyone, knew. Again, that wife that we referred to earlier that got cheated on by her husband with a condom, but he said it wasn't cheating because it was with the condom. You remember that analogy. Track back a couple of moments if you don't. She knew what he was doing. She was seeing the charges on the credit card. The Marriott, 4 Fridays in a row at roughly the same time? That's interesting. Having a lot of business meetings at the Marriott in a 1-bedroom room? Interesting. So, again, to say that we found out that they were torturing people in Guantanamo Bay, shocker. To find out that they were being even more insidious about it by, hiding the fact that they did that. And then to find out that not only did they do that, but they just kind of said, we don't really care about the law. I am the law.
And then used our tax dollars to break the law.
Right. You don't need this shit. Again, if you say taxation is theft, where's my receipt? If you think that it's not, where's my receipt?
I want an itemized receipt of what's going on and all this money spent.
Oh, you want me to pay for wars and blowing people up? I'm not cool with that, so we're going to take that money back. Because if they can infiltrate my bank account to see any transaction over $600, why can't I see their transactions? Why can't I see where my American dollars are going for their stuff? Probably because a lot of my American dollars goes to shit like this.
Well, and actually, legally speaking, and this is part of the reason why the prosecutors wanted to not only did they want to use the alleged information obtained by the FBI agents because that information was not obtained by torture. That's one legal reason why they wanted to use that and not the CIA.
Use that more because they actually procured it without torture?
No, that's what I'm saying. That was their argument in court. Their argument, their argument in court was, Your Honor, don't worry about the CIA torture. We're not using any information that they got from the torture. We're only going to use the information the FBI clean teams got. So therefore, the information is less tainted.
After they broke them with the torture.
Well, not only after they broke them with the torture, but after the formerly known as FBI agents became CIA agents for a day.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years.
Engaged in the torture, then put their FBI hats back on, got out their notepads and said...
That was atrocious.
And
those CIA agents.
And said, what was that you told me yesterday, Mr. Guy, sir?
When I was wearing my CIA cap? That guy's a real asshole. I'm FBI Steve now. So you're in good hands with FBI Steve.
So that's what the prosecutors were arguing. But there is another thing going on here that they use all the time, and it's the state secrets doctrine. Anytime they do something, anytime they do something nefarious, and whether they get called in front of Congress to answer for what they've done, or whether they're in a courtroom or whatever, they always say, state secrets, Your Honor. We can't tell you that because it's a matter of national security. Isn't that one hell of a trump card? I mean, if not every time, because God forbid I'm not in front of a court charged with a felony anytime soon. But if I ever,
which is fun,
get so charged, like, why can't I say, no, those are Dane secrets, Your Honor. I can't divulge that information. It's a matter of personal security.
Those are a hotel with golden signs that spell out Trump secrets. I can't, cards. I can't say that.
So, I mean, it's just, and I mean, here's some real world examples to kind of tie this together, because we're giving you a lot of abstract numbers or whatever. But you remember last year during the election, there was that alleged plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, because she was at political odds with Trump. And so the idea was, and this was what the propaganda arm and the media blasted everywhere, is that these were radical right-wing extremists who were going to kidnap a sitting governor of a state because it was a political enemy of Trump. This is outrageous. This is a coup, yada, yada, yada. Well, not a year goes by, and we find out that the 12 civilians who were caught in the entrapment and charged were set up by 18 FBI informants. I don't know what kind of satanic beast that was.
Don't mind him.
They probably didn't hear it on the mic, but they definitely saw our reactions on the video. So,
we both look that way.
Feel like, oh, yes, Satan.
The Dark Lord and Masters has arrived. Everyone.
Something in David's closet fell over and it spooked us.
Those monsters in there.
So the FBI, that's the funniest thing about the whole Gretchen Whitmer kidnap plot. It was a plot thought up by the FBI, then 18 FBI agents went and convinced 12 dudes to go along with it.
Like I heard
charge the 12 dudes and let the 18 FBI agents off scot-free.
Like I heard another story, kind of like that same thing. Like there's like some 17-year-old kid that like joined a bunch of Facebook groups and like got radicalized into Islam and so on and so forth. And it turned out it was an FBI front, and they were trying to radicalize this one kid. And there was text messages like, I don't think I want to go through with this. I don't think I want to go through with this. And then they convince him again to go through with it. And then he shows up, we got him. We got him, this son of a bitch. So like, how many times does this happen? Do you think they go in on Monday and go, all right, guys, I know it was a long week. I hope everyone had fun. Who do you want to fuck with this week? You want to go right side? You want to go left side? You want to go off the grid? You want to go back to Muslims? You want to go terrorism style? Like, what do you want? What do you want to do?
Who are we targeting this week? Muslims, anti-vaxxers, libertarians? I got an idea.
Anti-abortionists no, they just like spin a wheel of function and whatever it lands on, and then they throw a dart at another dartboard, and whatever that lands on, then they get those two to fight.
It's like So one of my favorite meme pages is called Liberty Memes. If you don't follow them on Facebook, you definitely have to. But their profile picture is, I don't know if you've seen the meme of like the blonde lady reading the newspaper and then she has like a shocked look on her face. But on their version of the meme, it says, FBI foils FBI terror plot. It's a hilarious meme.
How did it start again?
But it literally happens on a daily basis, apparently.
Well,
I mean, I'm not good at math, but 22,000 crimes over the course of 2 years is definitely averaging more than one a day. So I don't think it's a stretch by saying they're doing it on a daily basis. I'm being generous by suggesting that it's only one per day.
Dude, you got to hustle. All right. You got to get out there. You got to get into the nitty gritty. You just got to get down and dirty and work hard every day. And maybe someday you'll be the best federal agency that can break all the laws that you want to and never get held accountable for anything that you do ever. I don't know.
And you remember, so it was like back in February or March of this year, shortly after the election, and we talked about it on MSNBC, the former intelligence head or whatever, that member, he lumped libertarians and he started saying like, right-wing nationalists, like he had all the key buzzwords, and then he threw, and even some libertarians are in there right at the very end. And now, I mean, come on, both somebody who self-identifies as that and the people that are trying to figure out what a libertarian is, it is a rather jelly to a wall concept. I have libertarian friends that I don't agree with on way more things than I would agree with, a Bernie bro friend. It's weird. But anyway, that's a rather expansive group. I mean, if they're just saying, we're going to go after all these different groups and, political affiliation be damned, the real issue is, do they support the regime or do they not?
Well, that can get dark pretty quick. Get really, real adult real fast. Again, like, we had this conversation during the week, and I don't know if they're doing this to see how much they can get away with.
That's absolutely what they're doing.
Or if they're doing this to see how much, like the frog in the boiling pot, to see when it jumps out. Because I don't think they're even being remotely candid about any of this shit anymore.
Right.
Like, I don't feel like they respect the intelligence of the American people anymore. I really do feel that they think that we're just little fat tubs of lard sucking on the teat, and they can tell us whatever they want. We go, and then, yeah. There's more than more.
I mean, more than the visuals were bad enough on that.
Yeah.
When you threw in the sound effects, you lost me.
Like, hopefully you turned it up really loud for that. Listening 3D Bose. I don't know. I don't know what about stereos. I don't know anything about stereos. All I'm saying is that it's getting insulting at this point. Like, if you thought there was a shred of, decency up in Washington, D.C., and there might still be. There's probably,
I mean, there's a Rand Paul and a Thomas Massey for every.
And they might even be unspoken, like first-term senators and
representatives.
Yeah, that's the word that I was trying to say. That's, something that you say every day. Come on, brain, start working. Anyway, I'm sure there's good ones that you just never hear about. Kind of like there's good stories that you never hear about, but if it bleeds, it leads. So who do we hear from? We hear from Pelosi inciting fucking whatever she's doing. AOC just flying off the handle, trying to cancel everything that doesn't look exactly like not. Can I say this?
Probably. If you have to ask the question, the answer is no.
We'll pause there. That doesn't see the world exactly.
You fill in your own blank, okay?
Yeah, just insert column A, whatever the hell you want. And then
I'm glad you stopped
McConnell going like, we're gonna do things that stop the left. Like, good, McConnell, you squeezed that one out for you, because it's just, I think people are really getting tired of swallowing it. And then that's why, again, like we brought it up. Did we bring it up last time? Or have we?
I don't know. Maybe if you listen to our episodes after we finish them, you would know.
Comment and say that we did. Engage. But it's a scary time when you're actually getting your news from people that used to tell dick jokes and that still do tell dick jokes.
Oh, yeah.
It's just
we definitely did say that last time.
I'm pretty sure we did. But again, it's the parlance of our times. It's like the old it's the old guard that grew up listening to, CBS Evening News, and all they did was tell you the facts, and that was that. John F. Kennedy was shot today. Nixon stepped down from his role of presidency. That's just it. It wasn't, flavored in any sort of way. Now it's more flavor.
It's all propaganda.
Less chicken.
Now. Yeah.
It's like all breading and then like a little scrum of chicken. It's like a chicken pinky.
Yeah, and if you go through the arduous process of finding that little piece of chicken and you start saying, hey, I don't think this matches up with this other piece of chicken, you're a conspiracy theorist.
And after you go through all that hard work to find that piece of chicken that doesn't match up with the other piece of chicken, you know what they say? That's fake chicken. That's not even real chicken. You got that from Beyond Chicken. We see it. Nothing died in that process.
So my thought process on what you're saying. So you're saying like, are they doing it on purpose? They don't care.
Or are they incompetent? Basically, is what I'm asking. Like, Are they doing it like really, really in our face, or are they just not up to the times of like, there's a camera everywhere and we can see shit?
So my thought is, and I understand I'm going out on a limb here, because just by saying this, by thinking it, when I first thought about it, I was like, I sound a little crazy to myself. Then I'm like, should I tell other people this crazy thought that I'm having? And I've already told people on the TikTok. So if you are now following the podcast because of TikTok, you've already seen this. But for the loyal listeners from day one, since before we had a TikTok, I'm going to say it for them. I am starting to be of the mind that the blatant hypocrisy is so blatant now that it's bordering onto intentional psyop territory. And here's what I mean by that. I think they see three groups of people. One group is just going to believe them no matter what, because they still have this, puppy-like devotion to authority or fancy offices and people in suits. They're not worried about them. There is another group of people for whom a little bit of coercion and a little arm twisting will get them to fall in line. Okay? And then the third group are those of us stubborn holdouts that are like, no, this doesn't make any sense. You're being a hypocrite here, yada, yada, yada. You can't convince me. And what I call, and I lovingly call this podcast, our sane space, because people that think like that see the reality for it is, see the hypocrisy and be like, am I the only one seeing this? If you're in a group of 10 people and you look around and you say, did you see the hypocrisy there? And they're like, no. If all 9 people always tell you no, you'll start to question your own sanity. So I'm thinking that the blatant and overt violation of their own rules, being hypocrites, all that kind of stuff, I'm thinking that it's intentional. It's to gaslight that small minority of us that are left, that are sane, and try to make us question our sanity, such that if nothing else, if they can't get us to fall in line like the other two groups, they'll just get us to go insane and I guess run ourselves out of society. I don't know.
Well, to answer my own question, which I like to do sometimes,
I get that sounds crazy
when I'm talking to myself. I think that it's definitely. I think that they're masters to the monster that they created, meaning that they started subtly, like sprinkling in their own ideas, and that got them where they are today. But they had to add a little more pepper, a little more hot sauce, a little more this, a little more that. They had to put more zest, to get to that like 1% chicken, 99% breading kind of thing. I think that they are now attached to it, which is why you see them acting so irresponsibly, where a president, whether R or D, depending upon which side of information you're taking in, is either Jesus reincarnate or the Antichrist come to destroy this world and everything that we hold dear. And there's no in between. Like, I'd never heard anybody while Trump was in office say on CNN or MSNBC that actually the bill that he passed today was pretty good and it does do us a lot of good in this area. Paraphrasing, obviously.
Well, they did say he was acting presidential when he launched those tomahawks into
That's so weird.
into Syria.
Because no matter what side you're on, you always love a good war.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's exactly
and then how conversely that same side will not even
endless excuses for Biden.
Right. Endless excuses for Biden. Like, he's got a stutter. Like, he forgot the word Bible. That's the first thing is, I mean, he claims to be Catholic. Like, I don't know if you know, but I still have, like, what is that? Reoccurring guilt from Catholic. Like, oh, I'm enjoying this. I shouldn't be enjoying this at all. It's not good for me if I'm enjoying it. I'm not getting into heaven if I enjoy this, but I'm going to keep enjoying it, but I'm going to feel bad about it later. So that's, again, and then when he was doing the like freeze up thing, that's not funny, but it's not funny that he's like that though. I mean, it's like, help the guy out. Like, he's having a hard time.
They spent 4 years sometimes just implying it, but a lot of times explicitly writing articles saying that it's a fair comparison to compare the Trump regime to the Nazis. Fast forward to COVID times, and those of us in that sane space are saying, I'm pretty sure government putting in policies that makes you show your papers to get into places is very Nazi-esque. And that makes us
show us
terrible,
your papers.
You will not
be able to eat at this establishment until you show us your papers.
So again, okay for them to make the comparison, not okay for us to make the comparison when it's
this is outrageous,
much more apt. I mean,
you doth protest too loudly. Is that
stuff like that is so on the nose that again it starts to like yes. You're right. Occam's razor being true. It's just
here's hoping they're just stupid.
Complete incompetence across the board, and they don't realize how big of asses they look. However, damn, that's a lot of asses.
That's so many asses. That's like all the asses plus 200 million more.
That's
40 million asses.
I don't think that incompetence can explain all of it, is what I'm saying.
And again, it takes these moments to realize that, like, you're not wearing a tin hat anymore. If there's this many, if it's happened this many times, once is an accident, twice is a habit.
Is a trend.
There's a trend. Three times is a habit.
Mm-hmm.
What's the 240 millionth time?
Or what's the FBI's 22,501st violation of federal and/or state law?
I'm going to go ahead and say they should be feeling a little Catholic guilt because they like it at this point. They're really loving it.
Yeah.
And they want some more of it.
They definitely have a law-breaking kink. That's for sure.
Let's puritan this shit and let's get this kink out of them. All right. Pray the gay away. All right. Except for the gay is, breaking the laws and stuff like that.
So, listen, if we've said it once, we've said it 1,000 times. The people that staff the entity that we all call the government, whether it's all the way at the top in terms of, this isn't even how our government's structured, but this is the way people think about it. Whether it's all the way at the top with the president or whether it's just some lowly bureaucrat who's been in office for 45 years because they have absolute job security, is they are human beings just like us. They respond to incentives just like us. But the entity that they just so happen to work for, having this almost mythical type of aura about it, which allows it to get away with things that the rest of us would go to jail for, sometimes explicitly, like with the FBI authorizing it, and sometimes more implicitly, where it just has that monopoly on violence. It can forcibly take some of your income against your will because it's this special entity that we have deemed to give almost supernatural powers. Anybody working in that entity is not going to have the same type of incentives to behave, not be a predator to their fellow citizens, etc. All those incentives are gone, completely out the window. And if you're expecting good outcomes to flow from that type of situation, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you're not living in any sort of objective reality at all, because that's just not how human beings operate. They respond to incentives and the lack thereof.
And if you think that they're smarter than you at any given point, I truly do feel sorry for you, because it's not the case. It's just they're humans that know how to get to a certain place, and they've gotten to that certain place through either, like you're saying, incentives of gaining more power, or being able to schmooze, or this, that, and the other. If you talk to everyone knows that, not to get off on a tangent, but that these senators and these representatives don't actually read the bills that they're in. Why does the Build Back Better plan need to be 3,000 pages long? All it needs to say is, I need to take this amount of money to build this amount of roads. That's it. It doesn't need to be 3,000 long. Well, it's because they're going to funnel other shit and incentives to pay to jerk off the people that got him in that office to keep him happy, so that they keep putting him in that office. It's not hard. It's not. If they aren't smarter than us, then they're doing things that we can figure out, and it's right. And tracking back to doing it in front of our face, they've been doing it in front of our face for a long time now, and no one's standing up and Maria Antoinetting these people.
And see, and this is an olive branch to the left. I know we criticize the left a lot, and we explained that in episode 3 about how if they have cultural hegemony, they need to be held accountable the most. But this, I'm extending an olive branch right now. The left used to be, I don't know if they are anymore, but the pre-Obama left was very anti-war. They would get very upset if they knew that the United States government was torturing people, accused of terrorism or not. That left should be aghast by this. That left also complains about the criminal justice system. Well, you have the FBI authorizing its agents to be criminals. What happens to the victims of those crimes? Do you think they're getting any, recompense for a federal agent violating not only their rights, but also committing a crime against them? There's a lot of things that are going on in this story which should anger the left.
Leads to more questions.
And yet, throughout the Trump presidency, the left was not only eager, but goaded on these agencies to, drag anything they could up against Trump, and that anything that came out of these agencies was gospel truth. And then that same left, when COVID came around, can't help but abide by every single rule and regulation that flows from either an elected official or a career bureaucrat like Fauci's mouth for the last 2 years. That is a disturbing trust in authority that is definitely has never been earned, and it certainly isn't justified.
Where's your cynicism, bro?
Yeah, bring it back.
We
want the 1960s left to come back.
Just question. It's not illegal to question things. It doesn't make you stupid to question everything. Doesn't make you shit. We question whether or not the reality that we're seeing with our own 2 eyes is real, or whether it's a simulation. That's how far, and those are really smart people trying to figure that shit out, by the way. It's not just a dumb thought. Mm-hmm. We really can't even figure that out. So why would you stop? Well, they're in the government, so they have our best intentions in mind, which they've given you zero evidence of over the past at least 30 years that we've been alive. So I don't know what keeps you from questioning things that they say every day.
I mean,
everything they say.
The point that David made about the bill being so long because they needed to pay off the people that got him into office, and that's how they're going to stay in office. The left is constantly ranting and raving about campaign finance reform and how we got to get money out of politics because, that's what now. Setting my difference of opinion aside, that I don't think taking money out of politics is going to fix anything, but let's just say that you're right for purposes of that. That's exactly what's going on in this Build Back Better bill. That's exactly what's going on in the COVID relief bills. That's exactly what goes on with every piece of legislation that just doles out money to the politically connected like it's Skittles. And yet, every single time those bills are passed, the left is upset that they weren't bigger. They were mad that the COVID relief bill wasn't bigger. They were mad that the version of the Build Back Better bill that got passed was half as large as they originally intended it to be. They're upset that more isn't going to these politically connected cronies who they always are bitching about.
And if you think,
I don't understand, what sort of cognitive dissonance, mental detachment do you have to not connect these two dots and be just as upset about it as we are?
And lastly, dear listeners and potential viewers. I'm
not making good eye contact.
No, you've basically turned your back on them.
Hi, everybody.
They get to see your face enough on TikTok. So this is where I take over. Hey guys. I'll just ask you a simple question that's going to prove our point. How's the Ghislaine Maxwell trial going on? Do we know? Do we have up to date? Because with Rittenhouse, we saw every moment of everything that happened in the Rittenhouse trial. What's going on with the Ghislaine trial? Does Fox News have an opinion?
Is that how you pronounce her name? I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Yeah, it's Ghislaine. It's Ghislaine. I looked it up. I'm not
saying that very confidently.
I'm not being racist.
I'm not talking about her. I'm just saying it's like you're saying it's pronounced Ghislaine.
It's It's
not Ghislaine or something like that.
You can't write this shit.
That's why you picked her.
Reality is stranger than fiction sometimes.
Correct.
Anyway, all I'm saying is that if you think that these guys have your back, if you think that the media is telling you the truth, if you think anything about anything, why don't we hear more about that?
I mean, you would think that
if Rittenhouse was so big and all he did, excuse my, summation, kill 2 criminals and wound a third.
I think they were all 3 criminals, but
that's what I'm saying. And a third criminal.
Yeah,
that's what I meant. Thank you. So they were all 3 criminals.
My bad.
Attacking him. And they were all white. And they tried to make it a race thing.
Yeah.
This is literally the most influential people in this world that may potentially be running it have all been compromised by this one person, and we haven't heard a goddamn thing about it.
I mean, you would think that would be at least half as important as a 17-year-old kid killing
if not 20,000 times more important. Or how 240 million times more important?
Right. Yeah.
Whatever number that was that they paid.
22,500. The million? 294 million.
294 million. Yeah. Yeah. Million times more.
I would say presidents, I think sitting at the time, I believe Clinton and Epstein were friends when Clinton was actually in office. I could be wrong about that. I'm just guessing. You have presidents, powerful people in Hollywood, powerful people in the media, powerful people in finance, and
everything
all kinds of stuff.
Everything that you hear, say, and do that goes into your ear holes or your eye holes, all those people
are getting name dropped left, right, and center. And the media has nothing to say about it. It's crazy.
Just another day.
Just another day. It's just another day, and government doesn't follow its own rules.
Wasted away again in Margaritaville, right? So you want to wrap this one up with a nice pretty bow? Tell them how they can find us?
I think we should. So this episode can be found at wmdpodcast.com/73. You can also get this episode on YouTube. We have recorded it on video. Whether it comes out or not will depend on how pretty I look. You can also
you can't even see his fucking face. It's going to be horrible.
You can also get this podcast on any podcast app. Just search for Weapons of Meme Destruction. You'll have our whole catalog of 72, and now with this one, a 73rd episode. But also link up with us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And most importantly of all, because I've had this question on several TikTok videos about how to follow more of our stuff, is sign up for the email list on the website. The reason why that's critical is because every TikTok we pump out, we are just one phrase away from that getting pulled, YouTube canceling us, getting kicked off of Instagram, and everything else tied in with Meta.
But thank God we're free.
But they cannot take our email list away. So
thank God we're free.
David and I are going to be like little whack-a-moles, okay? If they try to cancel us off of a platform, we're going to pop back up on that platform. We might have a different name. So if you're on the email list, we will email you and say, hey, sorry we got canceled. We're not sorry, they are. And you are sad about it. But now you're going to be happy because here's our replacement account. So that's the most important.
We're not threatening violence.
That's right.
We're just going to
find all those things I mentioned, the one thing they can't take away from us is our email list.
We're just going to find another hole to pop out of or pop into.
That's right.
Depending on how you're looking.
So with that being said, David, are we going to tell them what they're going to get in the way of Christmas presents this year, or we're just going to hit them with it?
I didn't want to drop it so
we're just going to hit them with it.
But hopefully...
They're going to have to shake the box and try to guess what's inside.
Hopefully you've got your Yuletide log, all nice and cozy over there, cuddling up with your eggnog, your little onesie, your Santa onesie, maybe some reindeer sprinkle on them. Zip up in the front, zip it all the way down to the dick so you can just flop it out.
Jesus,
on a cold
man.
night, there was a couple of cold nights. Do they make adult onesies anymore? By the way,
I don't know, but
maybe
I don't
that should
understand.
be a present for me.
I don't understand why this story needs to be so detailed.
With like the little footsies on it, with like the track, so you didn't slip when you walked on. Anyway, all I'm saying is we're doing the 12 days of Christmas
All
over
right, so
here.
I guess David answered my question. He just wanted to tell you what the present was, so that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Now that you've said it, we've committed to it.
We're gonna go ahead and hide it.
If we didn't get the 12, we were gonna have to say sorry.
They're
we
gonna
didn't
have
do
to
it, but they would have
seek it
never
out.
known. But now we have to do it
because we'll make it available on all podcast catchers and so on.
So here's what this means. This means you're gonna get a lot of David and I from now up until Christmas. As you know, 12th day of Christmas is the last day, ends on Christmas Eve, the 24th. So starting this Monday, the 13th, you will not only get episode 73, but you will also get 12, or the first day of the 12 days of Christmas. And then every day.
Are we going counting down or are we going counting up?
We're
Because the
counting
song goes
down.
Both.
Yeah, we're counting down.
Because there's 24 days of
So on the 13th, you'll get the 12th day of Christmas episode. 14th, you'll get 11th, et cetera, et cetera. And we hope that you enjoy the extra content. This is our little gift to you for making the first year. It's actually been a year and a couple months, but making the first year of Weapons of Meme Destruction.
First whole rotation.
Yes. So enjoyable for us. And we're enjoying the growth that we're experiencing now. And we hope to see more of it in year 2.
To grow to at least 6 or 7 inches someday.
You're going to need surgical intervention, buddy.
Of course.
All right. So with that
I'll
being
need to be
said,
able to afford it. So keep growing this podcast so I can grow other things as well.
we will see you on the first episode of the 12 Days of Christmas.